All right, so we have a half hour to finish the daf before Naftali gets to where he's going. Fine. Drive slower, Naftali. Yeah.
I'm not speeding.
That's it, Yaakov, that's a square Rebbe, the old square Rebbe.
What?
When they first made square, so he went a lot from before they built. They went from Williamsburg. He went, all the time from Williamsburg to Square to take care of what was going on. So he knew, depending where he was at the Tillim, if the driver was speeding or not, because he knew how long it took him to say the Tillim from Williamsburg to Square. So.
That's pretty good. I never heard that one. That's pretty good. Yeah. Halavai by all of us. But okay. So we're up to the Mishna. We get into this major sugya for the last 2-3 blot of this parak. And the blot are really short. They're very short. So tomorrow's and the next days, if we don't get involved in all the hack, Friday stuff shouldn't be too hard to do on Friday. But okay, we'll see, because it's not the easiest Gemara in the world. Okay, so Zok the Mishnah. You're on the bottom of
I'm sorry, one day I thought of about an hour ago when I was folding the laundry. We talked about using Yankee Stadium as a marshal, something that changes buildings. It keeps the name. What about Hefker? Where they change the name every 2 years. They got a different sponsor. It's the same building, but you say, I'm not going to Petco Stadium. No, it's not Petco Stadium anymore.
Very good. That's is that called a transfer? That's that's a good marshal.
Yeah.
I have a different sports marshal. I thought about it today. I don't remember what part of the daf. I hope it'll come back to me. It's a free agency marshal, I think. I have to remember it. I hope I remember. But anyways, okay, so let's see. So the Mem Beis Amud Beis Mishna on the bottom, 3 lines up from the bottom. So Hamudar Hana Mechaveira. So somebody who gets an assur of Hana from his friend. That's the literal way to teach it. Meaning, this guy didn't do anything wrong. His friend made a neder and said, I'm not going to allow this fellow to get any Hana from me. So now, he's okay. So he's also to benefit from his friend. So lo yashilenu, you can't lend him anything. But lo yishal mimenu, and you can't borrow from him either. Right?
Sorry, it's Yaakov. Where'd you start up? I apologize.
Mem Beis Amud Beis on the Mishna, on the 3 lines up on the bottom. See it there? Got it? Okay, good. So again, somebody who makes a neder of Hana from his friends. Okay, so one is assur on the other one. So lo yishalenu, he's not allowed to lend him anything. That's pashut, right? Because that's getting Hana. Right? The one that's assur to provide Hana to the other one is not allowed to lend him anything because he's giving him benefit. But lo yishal mimenu, and he can't borrow from him. Right? Lo yilvenu, we'll get back to that. Lo yilvenu, but lo yilva mimenu. You can't lend him money and you can't borrow money from him either. So the Ran says right away that what does it mean? What's the difference between a loan and a loan? Right? We had this in, I don't know, somewhere in Shas we had that halva. How do you translate loan? Halva and shayla, they're both a loan. Right? It's both borrowing. So halva is money, and shayla is products. I don't know if products is not the right word. Utensils, etc., etc. Right? So halva is money. There's no difference really between them. But halva is money, and shayla is going on. Let's say borrow a guy's car, borrows utensils, that type of thing. Right? Now the difference between them will be. There's a slight difference between them, which is money. We'll see this in the Gemara. Money, when you borrow $100, you're not giving him back that same $100 bill. You're giving him different money in replacement. But when you borrow an item, like we just learned in the Musar Taka, right? We just learned in the Musar, right? Our bodies are borrowed from Hashem, or we're using it as how'd you call it, Dr. Corman? What do you call it? A deposit? or whatever it is. So it has to,
Yes.
yeah, deposit. Very good. So you have to give it back the way you got it, right? So that would be a sheila. Halva is money. Okay, so either way, you can't borrow, you can't lend to him. Below yim kala, you're not allowed to sell to him. Below yikach minham, you can't buy from him. Right? Now we had a bunch of blot ago, way back on Daf Lamed Aleph, about who's considered benefiting when you sell something. So it's really going to be dependent on how much he's selling it for. Meaning, if you sell it, if the guy is selling it at such a discount, then he's not really benefiting from it. Meaning, if he sells it as a loss, then he's not benefiting from it. So it really depends on whether he's making profit or not, whether you're allowed to buy something from somebody who's what?
Depends who he has for an accountant.
That's yes, that would be helpful, right? Yeah, but anyway, yeah. Anyways, fine. So that's the Mishna. So Gemara on top of Aleph now. Mem Gimel Aleph. Yeah. So Bishlam loyal venu. So we understand why the person who made the neder is not allowed to lend money, because that's giving him another. If you tell a guy you're not going to benefit him, and then you go lend him money, that sure is a benefit. So we understand that. But why can't you borrow money from a guy you said you're not giving benefit to? Right? You're not giving when you borrow money from somebody, you're not giving him benefit. You're taking benefit from him. So why can't you borrow money from him? Right? What are you helping him out? You're not doing anything for him, unless he's trying to hide the money from the feds. Okay, then maybe, but Stoma, that's not the case. So Bishlama lo yalva heimenu, we understand that you can't borrow from him, but lo yikach heimenu dekam es hani minei, because you're getting hana from him. Elo lo yishal heimenu mai kam es hani minei, but not to lend him again. What's the hana? Right? Meaning you want to say that maybe the answer would be lo yilva himenu, that you can't borrow from him, lo yikach himenu, and then and why you can't buy it from him, right? Because you're giving him enough. Fine, but what about shayla? It's not going to answer shayla, right? What kind of hana is there by borrowing somebody's hammer? What's that going to do for anybody? Some of Yosi Chanina, so two tirutzim. Some of Yosi Chanina, we're talking about where they each made a neder onto each other. It's not just a one-way neder; it's a two-way neder. I mean, these guys got into a fight. Let's just use that as an example. And he said to him, "Hey, I'm not giving you any hana." He said, "Oh yeah, I'm not giving you any hana." So now, and they said, "I'm not giving you, and I'm not going to receive." Meaning they made it two ways. Right? Reuven said to Shimon, "I'm not giving you hana, and I'm not taking hana from you." And Shimon said to Reuven, "I'm not taking hana from you, and I'm not giving hana to you." Right? So it was a two-way street, and everybody asked hana onto each other, and therefore he's not. That's why nobody's allowed to lend to each other. Nobody's allowed to borrow nothing. There'll be no interaction with them. But according to this teretz, but if a taka would have only be a one-way neder, then you could borrow something from somebody who made an assur neder on you, because there's no hana from that, right? That's according to the first teretz. Abaya Amar gezeira lishol mishum lahashel. No, if he made a gezeira, once we're going to start lending.
There's no hana. Why does it make a difference if it's two ways? If it's no hana, then why does it make a difference if it's both ways? No hana, it's no hana.
No, but both he can't give and he can't receive. Both can't give and both can't receive. So neither one can lend to each other. No.
To my left, if I made one-way neder, I can't go. You said last week we can go to the neighbor to the left or the neighbor to the right if you made a neder, just because it's no real hana. But now the hana is because it's two ways, because he can't give it to me, so then I can't go.
Correct. Yeah. No, he can't. He made an assur on the other guy that he can't give him benefit and he can't receive benefit, and the other guy also did the same thing.
But we said it's not considered benefit. I could have gone to someone else.
Oh, that's a different question. You're saying, why is that called benefit?
Right. He said it's not benefit. I could have gone to the neighbor over here. I went to this neighbor. I could have. It's not benefit. So why is it now stopping?
He's saying that it's not considered benefit because if you can get it, I mean, do we know they can get it from someplace else?
That's what we said. I'm saying that's what we said last week. No, it was a week ago.
That's only it was in the makam. That was only if it was in a makam that. What do we say? That if it's in a makam that they could make money on it. You say, you're saying if not, then why can't you do shayla?
Right. Go to my neighbor to borrow.
Shayla is not called any sort of hana. I Taka forgot that Gemara. Why can't shayla?
Is it now us because you can't give it?
Yeah, but l'chara there should be no hana that way either.
Right.
Look at that, Naftali. You're going into the environment of Lakewood. He's going to the Torah. It's having effect on him.
It's Yada. The Ran says very clearly, we're not talking about real hana. We're talking about vitor, and we're talking about according to Abaya Shita, that vitor is assur. It's not doing people favors according to Abaya is considered hana as well.
Does the Ran say that it's only going to Rabbi Lazar?
Yes.
I'm looking. I don't remember that.
Yosi near the Stamlan Karev Lazar, Damer Vitor Assur. It's Bedaf according to Rabbi Lazar. It's not a real hana.
Very good. That's a
teretz.
Then Naftali, that's a teretz. There you go. Very good. Very good. I totally missed that. Totally missed that. He's saying it's going according to the sheet that it holds that only giving a little bit of extra, like giving a baker's dozen. We said the baker's dozen would be assur, right? Because that's vitor. It's only a little extra. So if that's the case, and then that would be a problem for this too. Yeah, very good, Akiva. Thank you. Yeah, but there was something else here in the sugya. Yeah, no, okay, that's going. Okay, I forgot to say this also before with the you're giving him some sort of hana by the halva. So the pshat with that is because theoretically you can borrow money from somebody. Let's say you could borrow a nickel that's taka worth a nickel, but then you give him back a nickel that's like a collector's thing, right? So it's a collector's thing. So then it's worth more than a nickel. But the question is, can you pay that back? Is that considered a hana? Is that not considered a hana? Right? So that could taka be a hana. When you lend somebody money, you could end up getting back a hana. If you get back a coin that's worth a little more than what was there before. Anyways, okay. So that's but either way, that's Rabbi Yosi B'Chanina's teretz is talking about where they made hana and neder both ways. Abaya Omar gezeira lishol mishum lahashil. We're afraid that if you're going to allow him to borrow, then he's going to end up, the guy making the neder is going to end up lending also. And all the cases in the Mishna all have the same gezeira, meaning yes, theoretically it would be mutter, but they made a gezeira, no interaction either way, because if we're going to allow you to borrow, then you might end up lending too, and that's not allowed, right? Yeah, so that's those are the two tirots. Fine. Next Mishnah. Amar Lai, he says the guy says to him, Hishilani parasla, can you lend me your cow? Amar Lai ain't a pnuya. My cow is not available. So he gets upset. Amar, he says, Kainam Sadi Shani Charish Baloilam. I'm making a neder. I will never use your cow to plow my field. Right? You can see this interaction happen. You go to your neighbor and you say, I need to borrow your car. And the neighbor says, I'm sorry, it's not available. You see it sitting in the driveway. So you tell the guy, I'm never borrowing your car. I don't know exactly what the big einish of that is, but you can see a guy, getting a little upset and saying, okay, then that's it. Right? So now what happens is of course the guy comes up the next day and says, here you go. I'll give you the cow. So now can he use it or not? So if it was me with my puny little brain, I would say, what's the question? Right? Why should he be able to use it? He made a neder, he's not going to use it. But the Gemara, the Mishna differentiates. If it was the derech of the person who made the neder to plow his own fields, so then who assur v'chol adam mutarin? He's assur, but everybody else could plow. Right? So that means since he's the one that plows, so when he said, I'm making a neder that I'm going to plow, right? Then it's assur. Then it's only he said, I'm not going to plow, but others could plow for me. But if it's not the derech for him to plow his field and he hires people, and then he meant that I do not want this cow ever plowing this field, regardless of who is the one in charge of the plow. Right? So there would be a difference. Yeah, again.
Yaakov, what does it matter? Like I'm saying, Mitzad, like him plowing the field or not plowing the field. Like, why would he even have in mind that I can't plow the field? I'll focus somebody else. Like, he's trying to borrow the cow. Why would he assur himself? I'm just trying to understand the logic. He's angry about not being able to borrow a cow, not being able to plow the field.
What do you mean? Well, that's the question. What was his kavanah when he said this?
I understand that, but why would his kavanah only be mitzad himself?
Because he's saying,
he's angry that I can't use the cow. It seems like he doesn't want the cow to plow.
Well, okay, that's
he's not assuring him plowing with the cow. His main focus is I can't go ahead and plow with that cow.
Right. No, but that's what I'm saying. That's one way. That's one way of looking at it. Meaning, what you can't see, Akiva, you can't see like somebody saying, I'm not going to borrow your car anymore. If my wife wants to borrow it, or my kids want to borrow it, or my friend wants to borrow it, maybe I'll go in the car, but I'm not driving your car. Can you hear that or no?
I hear. I thought it's more inside. He wants to use the cow to plow the field. Like he needs his field plowed. That's what I don't understand. Like he cares that he can't plow with the cow.
I hear what you're saying. I hear it. I don't know. I don't understand this whole Masechta. Why don't we just ask the guy, right? We're busy spending the whole Masechta trying to figure out what a guy meant. I mean, just ask him what he meant. What was his intention? No?
I think there's stamma of what they mean, and you have to go bust it.
So it seems like that we have to figure out what the stam is from all these things, but I don't know.
Yesterday's daf basically spent a whole daf about how to get out of Nedarim to begin with, like loopholes. And like this whole Masechta like cancels itself out consistently.
You're correct. Yeah, right. That's 100%. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I hear both studim. I could hear that maybe he was answering it himself or his whole field. I don't know. Anyways, okay. This other case we had, I don't remember where we have. I think we had in Ksubas. Yeah. So guy makes Hamudar Ana Mechaveira. Well, Hamudar Ana Mechaveira. So somebody who has a neder from his friend, and that his friend can't give him hana. But the problem is now the guy has no food. Right? Meaning, whichever way the neder went, but the bottom line is A cannot provide benefit to B. And then all of a sudden B loses all his money. Right? And now he needs to be fed. So how can we get him food? So here we have some legal loopholes here. So we're in the middle of Mishna Gershon. Welcome. So somebody makes a neder on his friend and he has nothing to eat. So what do? So you go to the store, and you tell him, this guy made a neder for me that he's not going to benefit from me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And the grocer realizes what's going on and gives food to the guy who's assur to benefit from him. And then he goes and he takes money from the one who's not allowed to provide the benefit. Right? So that's one way. That's a workaround for this thing. So when somebody is assur to provide benefit for somebody else, so what he could do is he could go to the storekeeper, I guess wink with his eye and tell him, I got to give this guy, I'm trying to get this guy food. I don't know how to get it to him. And the storekeeper gives it to him on his own, and then this guy pays him back. And the Mefarshim say on this, though, the storekeeper cannot go to this fellow and demand payment, because the guy could say, hey, you can't demand payment because he's not mechuyev to, because then that would be considered a direct benefit, right? Meaning the storekeeper is taking a risk here, the grocer, right? Because if the person tells him, hey, I'm not paying you, I just wanted you to take care of this guy, so then he can't really have any tain on him, because if he would have a tain on him, then it would be considered a direct hana, right? This whole thing is working because it's indirect, right? And the grocer is giving to him by his own. He's volunteering.
Volition.
His own volition, yes, and then he hopes to get money from this guy, but if he doesn't, right? Fine. Yeah. We also said in the Ksubas that a guy can make an announcement and say, whoever gives this fellow food will not be a losing proposition, or something like that. That would also work, right? Because again, he's not asking anybody to directly give the guy food. Fine. That's case number one. Case number two, if he was building a house, gadri ligdar, or building a fence, sadeo ligdar, or his field was to be gathered, or he was going to, so I'm sorry, so then what he does, he goes to the workers, he goes to the contractor. This guy made a neder that he's not going to benefit from me. And I don't know what to do. I want to try and help him out. I want to try and help him build his fence, or plow his field, or build his house. And these guys, these contractors will do the work for him. And then and then they're going to go to the benefactor who was not allowed to give this fellow hana, the recipient hana, and then it's going to be okay. Right? The same type, same thing.
The Ran says the leizu avsu. There is no difference. Why is it more of a chiddush? If he's not making a shliach, why would it be considered? It's not. I understand that one is more letzarech. I know he needs food, and he doesn't necessarily need to build his house as pressing. But it's the same yisoid. What's the chiddush? The yisoid is that you didn't make him a shliach. In your lashon, you didn't make him a shliach. So if that's the stum of his lashon that he didn't make you a shliach, why would it change if his hint is not considered making a shliach? Why would it change whether it's something that's more pressing, dainu food, or less pressing, dainu house? It's the lashon that matters. Once we say the lashon doesn't matter, why would you think it's less or more of a chiddush in terms of the need of the person, in terms of what you're providing him?
Well, are you asking why we need three cases?
Right. So the Ran says the leizu avsu, but why is it more or less of a chiddush in any of these cases? His lashon is, I'm not making you a shliach. That's what we established. Why should it matter what he's saying? If I'm hinting this way, I'm hinting that way. Hint is not considered making a shliach, so he's not getting a no.
Yeah, I hear. So you're saying it should be no chiddush.
Right. Unless you say there is some type of indirect no, and that is you're still providing, even if you didn't make a shliach. Meaning there is an indirect no even without making a shliach.
Maybe. Okay. I don't know. I hear. I don't understand the leizu avsu in the first place, but yeah.
Well, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I'm saying, but you're asking the whole case is really.
No, I'm saying I didn't understand the leizu avsu. Meaning, what's the chiddush more? You didn't make a shliach. Right. The lashon of hint is not considered a shliach. So what does it matter? It's not a leizu avsu. It's not more of a chiddush or less of a chiddush. Right. Unless you there's an indirect hana here also that would be mechadish. That's not considered anything.
Right. I hear.
But if you look at hana as a service, then the first one, the food, is the service. The person providing the service is the third party. Here, the service is the worker, the plow.
But he's officially not making them a shliach for him, so it's not him.
No,
they're not.
But even without being a shliach, it's more direct than the food. He's the one providing the plow.
So you're saying there is an indirect hana here that he's causing. It's like a grama
It's more
hana.
direct.
Which part is
nothing.
more direct?
The pile is more direct than the food.
I hear.
The food is being provided by a third person. The pile is being.
I mean, it's not how the
being
Ran
provided
says
by
it. He
him.
says it's litzarech. It's a question of tzarech or not. He doesn't say it because it's more direct. I'm saying it's you could be other Rishonim learn that way, but the Ran doesn't learn that way.
Yeah, I hear. I don't
Question
know.
of what tzarech is.
Yeah, I don't understand what the whole. I mean, the food part you understand it, sir. The building part, fence. So you won't have a fence, right? So he won't plow his field. He's the idiot for making a neder
In
against this
Hanami,
guy.
that's the chiddush. The chiddush is that there's no. You didn't make a
Even
shliach,
so,
so it's not. You're not
you can
mamish
do it for
giving him
anything,
real hana.
right?
So
I'm
it's
saying-
indirect hana and shine.
Right, except that you're not supposed to make nedarim, and this guy went and made nedarim, and now we're looking for a way to get him out of making the neder, right? I'm saying.
If he has the
I'm-
fence, the banks they give him a second mortgage for $1 million. Okay, so that's the case.
Yeah, okay, good, but right. But here we tell you, don't make nedarim, don't make nedarim. Now this guy made a neder. Now we're looking for backwards ways to get him back. His work our way around.
See, I don't think I see. I don't think that. I don't know if it's. I don't think the Mishna is giving out advice. I think the Mishna is saying this is the din. The din is that you're not, if you do it indirectly, it's not considered giving enough. And
So let me ask you a question. If this guy stops construction and he's looking for help from the person he made the neder against, is this guy over on v'yahavta l'reacha kamoicha if he doesn't help him out, or could he say, "Hey, this guy made a neder against me. What does he want from me?"
I don't know if he's mechayiv in any behalf. He's going above and beyond to begin with.
No, I'm saying normally a guy, you need a chesed. The guy's got nothing to eat, so I say, okay, I got to help him out, right? But in this case, is the guy mechayiv to do it this way?
No, I
Or
don't
could
think.
he say, listen, he made a neder against me. What do you want?
But I don't think the chiddush of the Mishnah is that it's a chiyuv or not. I think the chiddush is that's even though there's an indirect hana here, and it's not l'tzayrech, you're still allowed to do it.
Right. No, I hear. Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, okay, let's see weiter. So the third case. If he's going in the way, right, and he doesn't have what to eat. Now, so here they're traveling. So they don't have a storekeeper or a grocer to get money. So what is to get food? So what does he do? He gives it to somebody else as a present, and then he can go give it to the third guy can give it to the one he made the neder, the one that made the neder against him, right? Because we said before that's an indirect. That's an indirect benefit, so it would be okay, right? The shaila is, why is this mutter at all times, or like we were just saying, what Akiva was saying, or only when the guy's desperate, right? So Tosfos says that we don't allow this only when we only allow this shtick to give it to a third guy, to give it to him when he has nothing to eat, right? The Tosfos, the second wide line down in the Tosfos, right? He says, but we don't allow all this shtick by nedarim unless he calls it harama Tosfos, trickery. He only says it by only when they're desperate. Now, what happens? And continuing the Mishnah, what happens if they have nobody else with them? So how's he going to get him the food? So what he does is he takes the food and he puts it down on top of a rock or on top of a fence. The food is Hefker. And the other guy comes and takes it. Now, this is already a much bigger harama. That's one thing to give it to a third party, etc. Here, all the guy does is makes the food Hefker, and he says whoever wants to take it could take it, and then the guy could come take it. And Rabbi Yosi says no way. He says it's assur. You cannot do that. Right? Now, Tosfos says that Rabbi Yosi is only disagreeing, meaning when it says here Rabbi Yosi assur, is he saying all these cases in the Mishnah are assur, or just the last case? The Tosfos understands it that it's only the last case because that's too much already. To take food and put it down on top of a rock or a fence and say it's Hefker, knowing that this fellow is going to come take it, that's already too much. That's already too much of our own. But the first few cases it's going to be allowed. And we're going to see on Amud Beis that may not be so mashma in the Gemara like that. The Gemara may not be mashma like that. Fine. So now the Gemara is going to focus on this last machlokes of Yosi and Chachamim again, and it's going to be going. We need to understand this because we're going to have this for the next 2 days, Bez Hashem, maybe 3 days, or 2.5 days. Yeah. So again, so we have, if there's nobody else around and they're traveling and the guy is starving, so what does he do? He says he puts the food down on top of a rock and says Hefker, and then the friend hears him say it. It's a Hefker. And then he comes, takes the food. Like this, that's not benefiting from him because he already made it Hefker. And the question is, can you just stop make things Hefker? Do you need to make it Hefker in front of somebody? That we'll see in a couple of blocks. This was the big issue by the Tfilas Kalim by Corona. Right? So Corona, they were shutting the mikvahs down. You couldn't leave your house. So what do you do with new utensils? So what do? So some said you make it Hefker. You make it totally Hefker. Once it's Hefker, it doesn't belong to you. Question is, how do you make it Hefker? Not in front of people. So can you use Zoom to make it Hefker? Right? Or do you have to put it out on the street in order to make it Hefker? Or can you, l'chara just sitting in your house and saying, oh, it's Hefker is not enough. Right? You'd have to put it out onto the street. You have to show some sort of siman. Here, it's the same thing. But either way, Rabbi Yosi says this doesn't work. It doesn't work. You cannot do such a scam.
Why is the Mahalchim Baderech alone not considered a Hana?
What, that they're traveling together?
They're keeping each other safer.
No, who says there aren't other people there too? But the other people never made the
The second case is where there's only the two of them.
Because it's a third, because if there would be a third guy. Yeah. You're right. That case. Is that called a
Depends who
Hana?
you're traveling with, Gershon.
Especially if he made a neder from him. Right? But I don't know.
Either way, it's safer from outside forces.
Maybe. I don't know. I go too well. Maybe it's Zugim. Zugais, I'm sorry. Zugais. Maybe it's Zugais. It's worse. Anyways, okay. So Rabbi Yosi says it's assur. So now the Gemara is going to focus on that. So Rabbi Yochanan, my time in the Rabbi Yosi. Why does Rabbi Yosi say it's not allowed? Because Savar Hefker kematana. He says Hefker is no different like a matana, right? Akiva was asking this yesterday. Ma matana ada asim reshus noisin reshus makabel, just like a matana. How do you give somebody a present until it goes from the reshus of the giver to the reshus of the taker? He could take back his matana, right? Meaning, I go to the store and I buy you a matana, right? I have up until you take the matana from me and pick it up to rescind it and decide that I'm not giving you, right? Why not? So av hefker ada asli reshus zoiche. Hefker is the same thing. It's going to be hefker. It's not going to be hefker, meaning the hefker kicks in once the other guy picks it up, right? Which is a very big chiddush what Rabbi Yosi is saying. Rabbi Yosi is saying that when I make something hefker, it doesn't become hefker until somebody else comes and takes it. If nobody else comes and takes it, then it's still considered in my reshus.
Can you be mevatel your hefker, lefiza? Meaning, normally you say that dibur cannot be mevatel maisa. So but over here it was just dibur to begin with. So can I just say after I put something out and say it's hefker? No, but dibur can be mevatel dibur. So if I go ahead and say it's hefker, then
Yes, you're right.
Meaning, can I be mevatel my hefker when I put it outside? And if somebody comes along after I'm mevatel it, can I say no? It's still my reshus.
Correct. I think that's all part of Shal. We're going to see that over tomorrow's Daf Hashem. Whether, meaning, what's the nafkamina here? The nafkamina is here. The Lamaisa guy made it hefker. right? So if you made it Hefker and it's only Hefker once it gets into the other guy's hands, so then when was it ever Hefker?
I think what he's saying is that there's I don't want to call it limbo, but what he's saying is that there's a stage of I always look at Hefker as something that when you put something in the Hefker world, it's everyone has a switch to it at that point. And then when it gets in the other person's hands, so it's sort of like everyone has a switch to it. And when it gets to the other person's hands, it narrowed down to just that person.
Oh, so right. And what's the nafkamina? The nafkamina is the guy could take back his Hefker.
Right, but my point is it's even less than that, according to what we're saying now, is that it's not even that. It's that it's mamish, you didn't even do anything. Because you could be mavatal, you don't even have to do a Maisa Kinyan to bring it back into your rishus. That's an even bigger condition.
Yeah, okay, that's a valid point. That's a valid point.
What would Rabbi Yosi's nusach for Kochamira be?
Oh, very good.
That's what I was just thinking. Yeah.
Very good.
No, so how does it? The guy, if you can't make your chametz Hefker because there's nobody to take it. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
It's what take it Hefker. It's just nobody's going to try to be zeichen it either.
Right, but if
so then they can't. Then Rabbi Yosi saying that's not a Hefker.
Right.
Well, unless is this what Taisus calls in Nezikin, siluk dam, as opposed to a change of rishus? There's no change of rishus. There is siluk dam.
You can't do siluk dam, Gershon. You can't do siluk dam on something that you own. Only in Yerusha you could do siluk dam. I thought.
That's what Taisus holds Hefker is.
I know, but I'm saying, didn't we learn where we learned this in Subis that you can't do siluk dam on something Yerusha where you don't actually own it? You could do siluk dam on. But something you already have a kinyan on, Mechel you could do siluk damim on.
Yeah, that's a different kind of siluk damim. Taisus differentiates between.
Then it's in the higher madrega.
Okay, but what the doctor is asking, what Rabban is asking, is a good question. According to Rabbi Yosi, how you mafka your chametz, right? Because again, he's saying an only way to get it to Hefker is like a matana, and it's not Hefker until it goes into the other guy's rishus. Right, so if that's the case, so then how is chametz ever Hefker? Right, so we have to see as we go through the sugi exactly how this is going to work. What are you saying?
Unless when the lashon is libatel v'lehave Hefker, you first need bittel, then it can be mafker it.
Well, then
so
then you get into
also.
What's Hefker, right? Then you get into what does it mean by Hefker? Yeah. Okay. Whatever. So let's see. Weiter. So, but that's his shita. It's a big chiddush. So Gemara asks, and Rav Abba asks the kasha on it. Right. This is now the Mephirash Rashi says that this is a continuation of the case of the Mishna. This is just the braysa continuing it, but it just says the last few words of the Mishna. Right. The other guy comes and takes and he takes the food off the rock, right? The one who can't give him hana puts the food on the rock, right? And then he makes it hefker. Rabbi Yosi says it's assur. But Rabbi Yosi had a qualification. Rabbi Yosi, when is it assur? That's when his neder came before he made it hefker, right? The guy made the neder not to benefit from him. Then he made it. Then the guy made it hefker. So it doesn't work. That's a shtick. But let's say the guy made the food hefker before that. Why he do that? I don't know. Maybe he was expecting the guy to make a neder, so he preempted it and said, all my food is hefker. Whoever wants to take it, take it. Then the guy makes the neder. Then we say hareze mutter. Then that's going to be mutter because the hefker came before the neder was made. If you say, according to Yosi, that this whole hefker works if only until somebody else takes it from you, otherwise it's still in your rishus. So what's the difference when the neder was made, right? If it's a technical point that Rabbi Yosi holds that something is considered hefker until it gets into somebody else's property, so then it's still his, regardless of whether the neder was made first or the neder was made last. What's the difference in which order it was? So So Rav Abba asked the kasha, and he also gave the answer. When somebody makes a neder, he does not have it in mind when he says, oh, I'm making a neder that I'm not going to benefit from, or I'm not going to give benefit. He does not have the Hefker items in mind. It's almost like it's built into the neder that it's excluding Hefker items. So therefore, that's why he's allowed to give it, right? But otherwise, he wouldn't be allowed to give it, whether the Hefker was before the neder or after the neder. Right? So Masav Rava, Rava asked the Kasha. So then we need a lot of background for this. Something called the Shchiv Meira. And that's somebody who's going to laying down, it literally means laying down bad, laying down for bad, meaning he's about to die. So the din is that a Shchiv Meira, when he gives away his belongings, he gives it away before his death. So he doesn't want any fighting, I guess, with the Yerusha. So, but if he gets better, then everything goes back to him. Because the assumption is that he only meant to give it away if he dies. If he doesn't die, then he didn't mean to give it away, right? So that's the din that we're talking about here, right? But that's only if he gives away everything. If he only gives away a few of his things, then we think that he meant to give it away, because if he really meant to take care of everything before he died, then he should have given away everything. Meaning, if he just gives away one or two items, okay, so he decided that he's dying, so he's just going to give somebody some things like that. But otherwise, he's not. He didn't mean to give everything away. So again, so if a guy dying gives away everything, then it's all given away. If he only gives away some of his things, then I'm sorry, I jumped a step just to review. A guy is dying. If he gives away all of his belongings and then he survives, he gets back everything. If he only gave away some of his belongings and he survives, then he doesn't get it back, because that means we assume he just meant to give it away, right? So now, what happens if he gave some items to one guy and then he said everything goes to the second guy, right? So Masav Rava, Miktsasan l'rishon, the Kulon l'sheni. He gave some items to one guy and gave everything else to the second guy. Yeah, so Rishon Kana, Sheni Loy Kana. The first guy, and then he gets better. Rishon Kana, the first guy gets what he was given. And the Sheni Loy Kana, the second guy does not get it. Right? Why? Because we're assuming that the stuff that went to the Rishon, since it was only part of his belongings, so then he meant that to be a serious kinyan. And the second guy, when he gave him everything, that was only meant because he's dying. Now, why don't we say that he meant to give all of the belongings to the second guy, includes the stuff that he meant to give to the first guy? Meaning maybe he changed his mind from giving the first guy anything and he wanted it all to go to the second guy, in which case the first guy should not be able to keep his stuff, right? Meaning we're not saying that that's what that case was. So since we're not saying that, that means that when he says everything is included, right, to the second fellow, that means he's not including what was given to the first guy, right? So why don't we say the same thing? Let's say the same thing by Hefker, right? That he did not mean to give. He did not mean to give everything to the. When a guy makes a neder, I'm sorry, fakert. The second guy included everything. So since he included everything, even what went to the first guy, so then the second guy loses everything. So that means the same thing by Hefker. When somebody makes a neder against everything, he means everything, including Hefker, which is really meant to go to somebody else. Again, when this guy that's dying says that to the second guy gets everything, we're assuming that includes even the stuff from the first guy, right? And that's why the second guy doesn't get anything, right? So therefore, since the second guy doesn't get everything, then we should say the same thing by Hefker. So then the Gemara says, Elomar Rava. So Rava changes the pshat. He changes the pshat, I'm sorry. Elomar Rava, I know time of Rav Yosi. What's the reason for Rav Yosi? Gezeira mishum matnas beis chayron. Total different pshat, right? We said anytime we say Ella, it's a new pshat. The new pshat is Rav is saying it has nothing to do with Rav Yosi holding that Hefker is considered Hefker until it changes hands. That's not the pshat. The pshat is because of this matnas beis chayron, which is a Mishna later, and we had it in Ksubas, which is where there was a story where a guy made a neder that his father not get hana from him. A guy made a neder against his father. Then the son was making a chasana. He wanted his father to come there, right? So what's he going to do? The father can't come to the chasana because he said he's not giving any hana to his father. So what's he going to do? So he was makna the entire chasana to a friend of his, right? And he said, okay, now my father can come to the chasana because he's going to be benefiting from my friend and not from me. And then what happened is the friend got smart and he said, okay, I'm making the entire chasana hektish. And now, right, I guess maybe the father convinced him. So they do this shtick to my son so he could learn his lesson. So then he made the entire chasana hektish. Again, what happened was the son said he made a neder, he's not giving any hana to his father. Then he decided to make a chasana, and now is the father coming to the chasana because the son made a neder that the father can't get hana from him. So the son said, okay, I'm going to give all the chasana over to my friend. So now it's not my chasana anymore. It's my father who's being nana from my friend, not from me. Right? Now my father could come. Then the friend goes and makes the whole chasana hektish. So now the whole chasana is shot. So the son then says to the friend, I gave you the food for the chasana so that my father could come. I didn't give it to you legitimately. I only gave it to you for this and this reason, in which case that whole thing wouldn't work, right? There wasn't a legitimate kinyan. So therefore the father would be over on the neder. So would the son. So therefore they said because of that, they no longer allow these types of shticks. So therefore, according to Rav Yosi, he didn't want this type of shtick, meaning what's going to happen? The guy's going to put his food down on top of a rock and say it's Hefker. So now this poor guy comes to eat it, but then somebody jumps him, somebody appears from nowhere and jumps him and takes it, right? So he's going to say, no, I didn't mean it to be legitimately Hefker. I meant it just so that this guy could eat, in which case the whole thing falls apart. And then it was a scam, and the scam is no good. Right, so therefore, because of this story of Beis Chayron,
why is this scam no good? And Mechiras Chametz, why is this scam no good? And other harama that we do is good.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why does this scam? It's a sort of the same thing with the Dr. Corman and Rabban. They were asking before with the Mechir. Well, it's not exactly the same question, but yeah. When do the Chachamim allow some type of harama? When do they not? So Rabbi Yosi here is afraid. Rabbi Yosi,
I lost reception for a few minutes. I didn't hear Dr. Corman. I lost reception.
Yeah, that's fine. No, he's asking how do you ever do Mechiras Chametz according to Rabbi Yosi, right? So Elamai, we're doing Mecharim. You could say Balabatish. You'd say it against. You say that it's only according to Chachamim, not Rabbi Yosi. Okay, well we'll have to see with that whole sugya. But the point is, Rabbi Yosi is saying now that you can't allow any of these shticks, right? Now we said that on Amud Aleph that Rabbi Yosi seems only to be disagreeing with the last case, right? But then l'chayra, if he's afraid that this scam is going to be a problem for Nedarim, then it should be assur on all the cases, right? So that's another shiloh to discuss. That's another shiloh. But either way, okay. So but here's the thing. Again, so now when the Gemara is saying Elam Arava, we're changing the pshana of Yosi, and Rav Yosi really holds the standard Hefker, just like the Chachamim. Just he makes this gezeira because of Beis Chayron, right? The next two blot of Gemara are going to go back and have a whole shakal about Rav Yosi based on the first pshat, which the Gemara changes its mind from. Right, which is interesting, but okay. But we'll stop over here, and yeah, all right. We'll continue the sugya tomorrow. We'll give it a little chazara before.
I meant to ask you, do you see this mayor thing that he bought the Erev? This whole thing.
This always has.
No, so he signed it like a couple weeks ago, or no? For another 99 years or something?
That's what they always do for the Eruv.
So why can't you carry then if they lease the space?
Because who says he has a right over the space?
So then why is he signing it? Who's making him do it if he doesn't have the right anyway?
We don't know if who has the right. That's the problem. So since we don't know who has the right,
No,
what?
It's the same machlek as our Mishna. Yosi.
Right? It's
Well, we just go by all the sheetas, you're saying.
we're trying to pick whatever sheetas we can.
Got it. Okay.
I
never heard of it before. Okay.
What do you mean? We do it with the police chiefs here.
Yeah, but this is from the mayor for the whole city.
I understand, but he doesn't have any power.
He's selling it for $1.
Let's say the mayor comes and decides he wants to close down my street. You know what I do? I take him to court, and then he loses, or he wins, or maybe he doesn't.
All right.
Right?
Right.
So yeah.
All right.
Anyways, all right. Naftali, don't go to sleep, Naftali Land. I'm going to call you in a couple minutes.
Me?
Whenever I get off, yeah.
Oh, okay, fine.
Believe it or not. I need a new
I feel like
kitchen.
I'm in the principal's office.
I need a new kitchen. I need a new kitchen. So, you know what I mean?
I tried to do that already for free. You didn't let me.
Yeah. Anyways,
Thanks.
yeah.
I'm not in bed. Don't worry. I'm far from bed.
We see that. We see that.
His pants are on.
I wouldn't go that far.
We actually can't tell if his pants are on.
Exactly. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah. Okay, fine. Thanks.
All right. Are you feeling okay, Gershon?
Not great. No. Baruch Hashem.
Okay. You're looking a little under the weather there.
A little bit, yeah.
Ashton, you know a barrel cone?
Beryl Cohen?
Yeah, from
Manchester?
Cleveland? No, from Cleveland.
Oh. Can't say that I do.
Is he Jewish?
Sure sounds it.
No,